So let me ask you this: was y'all ever cool? You and Judge Joe Brown?
No, I only really met him once. Yeah, I met him once. And he said some slick stuff then, but and he wasn't. Now that I think about it, he had no dementia then. But I don't know what that was about either. I didn't respond at all. I think we were on a show together, and I don't know if he liked the things I said, but he referred to me as a clown, and I let it go. But now you're attacking my family. So I can handle you man to man. I ain't got no problem with that. That's why I wanted you to come and talk to me man to man. And I had no problem with that. But when he attacks my family, then I got to say something to you. Then I have to say something to you.
He told me a story about how y'all supposed to have a meeting at the Supreme Court and you didn't show up. Do you recall that?
See, he punked out and joined the gang, and then he says he got out when his mama got sick. So he does his thing, and one of the most embarrassing moments I ever had as a black attorney or as a black man was in front of 5 members of the U.S. Supreme Court and the Second Circuit Court of the Judiciary. They were having a judicial conference. They had invited me, Judge Napolitano, and Judge Mathis to lecture them for 2 hours on television in the courtrooms, because at that point, 20-some years ago, the U.S. Supreme Court and the appellate courts of the United States and other courts were concerned about opening the courts back up again to broadcast media. He declined the show, and he said, "I'm sorry, I'm rehearsing for a gospel play."
Yeah, no. The Supreme Court, no, what he was saying, the Circuit Court of the Federal Circuit Court wanted us to come and address them about our perspectives on the law. Well, I knew all of them were conservatives, and it would be hostile territory because, as he said, 3 of those circuit court judges are now on the Supreme Court. The same Supreme Court that eliminated affirmative action, the same Supreme Court that is now giving the president open hand to do whatever he wants to do. The same Supreme Court, even though I'm not a supporter of abortion, I'm a defender of women's health and women's right to their health, but the same Supreme Court. So I wasn't going to go anywhere where the folks don't trust my values. He say I was at a gospel play rehearsal. No, I was with Reverend Jesse Jackson fighting for voting rights renewal of the Voting Rights Act, which we had passed. And so that's the work I was doing while he was there with the conservative white folks telling them what they want to hear. And ultimately, those being the same ones on the Supreme Court that are now voting against our interests. No, they didn't want to hear me. And so that's his crowd. White conservative males who don't have our best interests in mind. I spend my time with the leadership who fights for us. I'm chairman of Rainbow Push, Reverend Jackson's civil rights organization. I'm close to Mustafa Farrakhan and the minister himself. So those are the folks I associate with. So I'm sorry if he didn't appreciate me going before them conservative white folks who got on the Supreme Court and ruled against our interests. I'm sorry. I'm fighting those folks that he was supporting and thought I should be in front of.
Yeah, he said that you told them that you couldn't make it because you had to rehearse for a gospel play.
Now, gospel, he said a gospel play rehearsal. I did do a stage tour, but that wasn't where I was, and that wasn't what I was doing. In fact, he said rehearsal. Of course, I could miss a rehearsal if that was the case. That wasn't the case at all. I was fighting for voting rights. I was organizing a march for Reverend Jesse Jackson. And by the way, that was successful. We were marching to get President Bush to renew the Voting Rights Act. There was resistance for several years. We had several marches, one in which was that time it occurred, and we won. renewal of the Voting Rights Act. In fact, we had not a celebration, we had a presentation at the White House, on the lawn of the White House, when President Bush signed into law the renewal of that Voting Rights Act. And so I was doing some real work to benefit our community, which is what I'm about. Black people, that's what I'm about.
Yeah, he also made a comment about how you punked out by joining the gang.
That's what he said. He said I punked out and joined the gang. And he might even call me in a separate part of the interview a straight up punk. He might even call me a punk. All of that stuff provokes violence, but it won't in me. However, the fact is, I was a street youth, went to jail, tried as an adult at 17 for carrying a gun. Did a lot more than I got caught for, thank God. After coming out of jail for 9 months, I got my GED and went to college thanks to my cousin Addison Hines, who had been to college. He got me in. And so I got away from the environment. That's how you escape the gangs. If you want to know, you leave the environment. Sometimes you can't leave the physical environment sometimes, so you got to leave it mentally, and you got to find other ways. You got to become a minister, join the men's ministry at a local church. You know, on the streets, they don't mess with square guys. If you're really trying to be square, they ain't messing with you. They let you go and do your thing. Like I say, they don't fight with lames. So in that sense, that's how brothers get out of the street. You either leave the environment physically or some other way finding to associate in your own environment in a way that doesn't involve the streets. And so, yes, it was me leaving and going to college that allowed me to get out the gang. And then I was a transition period. The first 2 years, some of my boys were coming up there. We was hustling, little lightweight hustles, selling the little joints and doing a little fraud or whatever it was. I ain't had no parents. Mother had died, didn't have a dad. So, you know, it was a transformation period. And I want brothers to know that too. Don't think that it's going to immediately change who you are. It's a process. It's a process to get out the game. And I wanted to convey that. But yeah, I like the fact that he's mentioned all these things because it has given me an opportunity to share some wisdom based on my experience and my knowledge to those who I think that's what they need to hear more than this nonsense that he's talking about.
And you said you've been shot before?
Yeah, I've been shot people. I mean, I was in the street for real, for real. Yeah, no.
Respectfully, how did that come about?
We had robbed a dope boy and was running away.
Oh, okay.
We used to rob dope boys a lot. And so in that case, I was running and got shot in the shin.